funky.
My darling, I love you, 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 I l
I would say welcome back, but this is the first video on the channel, so I'm just gonna say welcome. Welcome to the channel. I'm very socially awkward, so making this video is very awkward, but we're gonna get through it. So, this video has been requested. It has been a long awaited video, and I have been putting it off for months. Why? Because pregnancy has broken out my face, and I don't really like how I look on the camera. Like I have a pimple coming in right there, but we're gonna pretend that we don't see it. We're just gonna get through this and pretend like it's not there. So anywho, this is a TTC, which stands for Trying to Conceive Question and Answer video, which means I'm only going to be answering the questions that my followers submitted on my Instagram, and I will put my Instagram information down in the description below. So if you have more questions, we can do more Q&As after this, but I'm just going to answer the ones that were already submitted months ago, and we're going to get some answers on the board. But definitely make sure you hit the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel, because we got a lot more content coming, more videos coming. We got body casts coming, labor and delivery coming, baby shower. I'm not doing a nursery, so bedside nursery preparation video, going through baby girl's clothes, washing her clothes. There's more things on the channel. There's tarot readings, there's graphics, DIY. So the channel has a range of things that it will cover. And so definitely stay tuned, definitely subscribe, definitely tune in to all the videos. And so we're going to go ahead and jump right into this Q&A. And so I took all of the questions that you guys asked and I wrote them down so that I wouldn't have to look at my phone. And we're going to go through it. So the first question that someone asked is, how did I choose my insemination process? How did I choose my insemination process? So let's talk about the different processes that exist. So you have what is called intravaginal, intracervical, intrauterine, and IVF. So let's start from the beginning. So intravaginal, that's basically known as just regular intercourse, which is the main process for heterosexual couples. And if you follow this channel, then you know by now that I am not heterosexual. I am a lesbian, part of the LGBT community. So intravaginal or / natural insemination was definitely not going to be my choice of process. Definitely not knocking those that use that process, but definitely not for me. So let's move into the ones that don't require actual physical sexual intercourse. So the first one is known as ICI. ICI stands for intracervical insemination. That's the process I chose. And so that can be done at home. It's an at-home insemination. There's different kits, different methods, and I won't get into all the tools because we'll do that in another video that specifically talks about what I did step by step to get pregnant, but I will give you a preview of what ICI is. And so that means you can either use a syringe, like medicine syringes. You can use kits like Mosey Baby. That's the kit I use, and we'll look at that in another video. You can use soft cups. You can use, it's just so many things out there. And so personally myself, I used a soft cup. If you don't know what a soft cup is, we'll look at it in another video. But it is a menstrual cup. It is a disposable menstrual cup that people use during their menstrual cycles that you just squeeze, fold, and put it up into the canal, and it cups the cervix and keeps everything close. And if you don't know, we'll talk about all these terms, but intracervical is done at home. Then you have IUI. IUI is intrauterine insemination. That's done at a doctor. So a doctor will take a catheter and they will stick the catheter in the cervix up into your actual uterus, and then inseminate sperm directly into the uterus. That way it bypasses the vaginal area and bypass the cervix, and it goes straight to the uterus to meet the actual traveling egg. And so ICI does cost because it's done at a doctor. It depends on your insurance, and it depends on if your insurance will cover it. Not all insurance companies cover IUI. So if that's something you're looking into, you definitely need to check your insurance, check with your coverage, and see if that's something that's covered. But it's not covered by all insurance. It does cost, it can range anywhere from $250 to $800 per cycle or per time that you do an IUI. So it does cost money. You have to consider that. And the success rate is about, don't make me lie because I'm not good with numbers, so I want to say about 20%. So even the healthiest woman with the healthiest reproductive system still only has a 20% chance with IUI. And they already say that in general, women only have about 20 to 30% chance of getting pregnant each cycle. So even with you doing an IUI and bypassing the cervix and then putting it directly where it should be, there is still a small chance that it won't succeed. So you have IUI, which is done through a catheter, and then you have IVF, which is the most expensive, and that's in vitro fertilization. So that's when they take your egg completely out of your body, put it in a petri dish, put the sperm in the same dish, they fertilize the egg outside of your body, and then they transplant it back in your body after it's fertilized and hope that your uterus takes hold and it implants. And so that's the most expensive, and that can range anywhere from, I want to say, let's just say $20,000 and up, because I know if you're in the Army or if you have different benefits or different insurance coverage, that may lower it. But I'm going to say $20,000 and up because you need meds too. For IVF, you have to take meds, and we'll get back in that too with IUI. You have to take different injections, different pills to get your ovaries ready, get your egg production ready, get your body ready just for the vigorous process known as IVF. Some women that do IUIs do take what's called a trigger shot as well, so that costs money. Trigger shots basically force your body, not force, but basically forces your ovary to release the egg after you take that shot, because when you're doing an IUI, and I don't know about IVF, but when you do IUI, the doctor wants to inseminate exactly 24 hours after your ovary has released the egg. And so that's a whole nother conversation, whole lot of other terms. So choose insemination process. Personally, IVF, I didn't want to go that route because just to get approved for IVF, you have to have went through at least, I want to say based on the insurance coverage that I know about, you have to go through at least 4 to 8 failed IUIs before you get approved for IVF. So I can't just choose and say I want to do IVF and get approved. And then on top of that, money. I'm not spending $20,000, like, unless I absolutely have to. Unless that was the only possible way that I could have a child, then I might go that route and attempt it. IUI, I don't know if I want to pay $300 to $500 each time, and unless you're lucky and you know your body, and even the women that know their body from tracking so well, it's going to take more than one try to get pregnant. Let's be honest, because the normal couple, a doctor will tell a normal couple that comes in to say they've been trying to conceive that they have to try anywhere from 6 months to a year before they get assistance through the medical way. So before they can get medical assistance, they have to have tried at least a year. And if you're above the age 35, you get to try for 6 months before a doctor will step in and do tests and see what could be the reason that you're not conceiving. So it's going to take more than one try. It took me 3. I got it right on the 3rd try. So think about that. 500 3 times, that's almost $2,000. And then it depends on sperm or your donation, just so that this video doesn't get flagged. Donation. That comes to the next question. Somebody asked me, did I use a known or anonymous donor? I don't know if I really want to answer that question on this video, just yet, but I will discuss the difference between the two. If you're using anonymous donor, that means you have to buy the sperm from a cryobank. So there's many banks out there. You have to do your research, but one vial donation, the vial is about that big, but it's not even filled to the top. Out of this little vial, you have about that much specimen. That can run you about $500, $600 to $800. Now, I don't know about all banks. I know the ones that I looked at started at $700, $800 for that little bit of specimen, frozen specimen. And so if you're using an anonymous donor, you're going to get a frozen specimen in a nitrogen frozen tank delivered to your house. And then that comes with its own set of instructions versus a known donor. That means you used a friend or you found someone, you have a contract in place, they're giving you a fresh specimen. So I'm going to leave that question for another video. And so that scratches the donor question and the insemination question. Someone asked me, do I think that I would have, or did I think that I would have enough support? So to answer that question, when I decided to go into this process as a single lesbian woman, I was definitely prepared to do everything on my own support-wise, whether it was without or with friends or family. Luckily, I do have a lot of support. I have more support than I thought I was going to have. I never thought that I wouldn't have support. Let me make that clear. I never thought that I wouldn't have support. I just wasn't sure to the extent of what that support would be. But thankfully, I have a lot of support from my mom, from my friends, from your village. My village does support my decision to be a single mother by choice and to be going through this process and to help me prepare for this process. So that covers that question. Let's see. What am I anxious about? What am I anxious about? So when you are pregnant and you have hormones and emotions, everything is heightened. And so I have little things that I get anxious about along the way. So I found out I was pregnant at 3 weeks and 4 days. That's very early. Most women don't find out until they're already 6 weeks and beyond, unless you're trying. I was trying, so I was testing, so 3 weeks and 4 days. So the first thing to be anxious about is making it to 6 weeks. Hoping that your body, hoping that your body actually implants the egg and holds on to it. You know, they have what's called early miscarriages. What's another one? Chemical pregnancies. We'll get into that in another video. And so, first thing was being anxious, of hoping that it was what you call a viable pregnancy, hoping that it sticks to 6 weeks to get to that first appointment. So that's the first thing to be anxious about, because that first appointment, when you finally hit anywhere between 6 and 7 weeks, that's when you find out if your baby has a heartbeat. So anxious, yes, very anxious. I did a lot of things that not even normal women do during the process. I got my HCG, which is the pregnancy hormone. I got my HCG, my blood drawn 3-4 times to check to make sure that that hormone was rising the way it was supposed to. It's supposed to double every 48 hours. So I was doing that. I was getting blood work. I was taking pregnancy tests every day for like the first 2 weeks of my pregnancy. I was peeing on sticks every 2 weeks. So that was the first thing to be anxious about. Made it to 6 weeks, made it to the appointment, made it to my first sonogram, feeling good now. Doctor tells me they don't see a baby. Turns out I ended up being earlier than that. Turns out I thought I found out at 4.5 weeks, but I really found out at 3.5 weeks. So I was a week behind of what I actually thought I was. So when she did my first sonogram, she saw my uterus, nothing in it. So that made me anxious for a whole nother week that I had to wait to get another ultrasound. But thankfully, as you know, because I'm making this video, they found a baby a week later. So anxious about that. Finally made it past 6 weeks. Now I'm anxious about making it to 12 weeks, because they say if you make it to 12 weeks, the rate of miscarriage drops. So making it to 12 weeks. Made it to 12 weeks on my birthday. Stopped being anxious for a while. Now I'm anxious about making it to 24 weeks. I'm actually 22 weeks and 2 days today, so making it 24 weeks. Why? Because 24 weeks is where the baby is officially viable outside of the body, which means if I was to go into any type of preterm or early labor, my baby could survive or has a higher chance of surviving if she was born at 24 weeks and beyond. We're going to hope that doesn't happen. I'm healthy, nothing bad is happening. I will not speak that, but that's what I'm anxious about at this current moment, making it to 24 weeks. Once I make it to 24 weeks, anxious to make it to the end and actually make it through labor and delivery. So I hope that answers your question. You're never going to stop being anxious. And then from what I hear, when you have the baby, you're going to be anxious about everything that has to do with the baby. Best parts, looking forward to actually having her. The delivery process and actually seeing my baby for the first time is what I'm looking forward to, because I know she's here. I feel her. She kicks. She moves. Now I want to hold her. I want to see her. Next question was breastfeeding. Do I want to breastfeed? 100% yes. Now I know some people don't have that preference and some people don't get that chance. I'm hoping everything goes the way that I want it to, because I do 100% want to breastfeed, and I want to breastfeed for at least 2 years. Now, that could change. I could start breastfeeding. It could get difficult. I could cut it off and it could be 1 year. It could be more than 2 years. But to answer your question right now, yes, I want to breastfeed at least 2 years, 24 months. Yeah. So, relationship with bio dad. I'm going to save that question for the known/anonymous donor question in another video. Nervous about birth. Surprisingly, no. I know when I first got pregnant, people told me not to watch labor and delivery videos because it would make me all nervous and afraid, and I'm actually not afraid. Just not something that scares me. I'm not really nervous about birth. I'm anxious, but the good kind of anxious, not the anxious we talked about before. I'm the good kind of anxious, waiting, ready to go to that stage, ready for it to happen. So I'm not nervous about birth. I'm not nervous about the pain. Pain is a mindset. Don't get me wrong. Never had a baby, so I'm not saying that labor will not hurt. I am saying that pain is in your mind. It's going to hurt as much as I allow it to. And that's just how I'm going to speak on that. So no, I am not nervous about birth. I am actually happily awaiting birth. That's the way that I'm looking at it. Last question was advice for all. Advice for all. Track, and we'll talk about that in another video. Track. Know your body. Know your body in and out. Know when you ovulate. Know how it feels when you ovulate. Know your cycle. So if you're somebody that hasn't ever tracked your cycle, get you one of those little period apps. Track your cycle. Track your ovulation. If you're thinking about doing this journey, do it for fun. Start tracking now. I'll attach some links and we'll talk about some tools you can use, but apps, ovulation sticks, ovulation tests, temperature, tracking, everything. Track. If you try to attempt this journey and you do not know your body, this will be a longer journey. I will say that. And I know that things happen, and I know people have different reproductive systems, and you just may be one of those people that have trouble conceiving, but just normally, if you do not track your body and you do not know your body, this process will be long, it will be drawn out, it will be harder. So if you want a video on how to track, let me know in the comments, and I will definitely make a video dedicated to just tracking your cycle. I will show you the apps. I will show you what I did. Let me know, because that's my advice for all. Be prepared to know your body. Do enough research on these process, these tracking methods. Know your route. Know your body. Do your tracking. Do the research. That is the advice I have, to be honest. That's the advice, and those are all the questions and answers I have, because that's all the questions everybody asks. So if you have more questions, let me know in the comments. Let me know on my Instagram. All the information is in the description. Once again, make sure you subscribe, because we have many more videos coming. And with that, this video ended up being longer than I thought it was going to be, but we're going to stop there. And I know in most YouTube videos, they always say, let's stop and get a thumbnail. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to get a thumbnail. And then with that being said, until next time.